Okay, so now I start with text files in Python. Okay, in my previous session we saw about why do we need files, what are different types of files that we can use in Python, and about those files, right? We did discuss about text files and binary files, and now I take up text files, right? Now see, the first thing that you have to do is when you're the whole idea is that we are working on a Python program and we need to connect to a file, and we either need to write upon the file or read from the file, right? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to open a file, right, through our Python program. And opening a file means what? It is saying, knock knock OS, I need this file, and the file name is this, say it's x.txt, and I want to open it in a particular mode, and the mode could be either read or write or even append. I'll take it up as well. Now, depending on which mode you're opening your file with, you remember I told you all, if this is your py file, right, say it is x.py, and this is my, say, y.txt file. Now I need to write upon this file, or I need to read upon that file. So what I do is, this is my operating system. I knock my operating system and I tell my operating system I need y.txt. Okay, I want to write on it. So what happens is, operating system helps in creating a channel which goes from my Python program to the file, because I want to write onto the file as per the open command that I gave. Okay, and likewise if I have to read, same thing happens. My program, it gives an open command to my operating system stating that it wants to read, and the moment the mode is read, what happens is that, okay, it creates a channel, okay, towards my program. Reading is picking, okay, data from the file. Writing is taking data from the program and putting it onto the file. Okay, so that's reading and that's writing. And there's one more mode that we are talking of, that's appending. I'll take it up later. Okay, when I discuss modes, I'll be taking up them. So now you understand what is opening a file. What do you understand by opening a file? Now say I'll just take the same file name and I'll take the same program name. And how do I write? See, I just do what? The whole idea is to create a file object F. Okay, it's a file handler, a file object, which actually is creating a channel between my Python program and my file. And what is that I do? I use function this open. Okay, and I do first thing is my file name was y.txt. I just mention the file name here and I mention the mode. Say I am opening it in read mode. Okay, now this F is my file handler, which helps me in performing whatever I need to do upon my file. Okay, through this F I can use all the built-in functions that are meant to work upon a file in Python. So that's how it works. Okay, there's another way of writing this statement with open, okay, y.txt, and again the mode as if. It's just a different way, and then I start writing the rest of my code here, and here I just continue writing my code like this. Now what's the difference between these two? See, in this type you open a file but you don't have to close the file. Okay, you don't have to do it. But in this case, once you're done with everything, at the end you need to write this line, and that is that you're closing your file. Here you don't have to do it. Automatically when you're done, everything is sorted, you're out of this. The moment you start writing out of this, the file closes. So this is how it works. Okay, this is how you open your file and this is how you close your file. Now I'll just take up various modes. Okay, now what is mode? Mode means you're opening your file to perform a read, a write, or an append. See, first of all, I'll not take it directly with respect to Python. I'll just tell you basically what a read means. When you open a file and you take content from it, okay, it's reading. Like I just open a Word file and I just take the content, okay, I'm just going through the content. That's reading. Now, if I have a file, okay, and I want to write onto that file, I'm adding to that file, I'm writing to that file. So that's my write mode. And then comes my append mode. Append mode means what? There's this file which already exists, okay, and now I want to add something, okay, from the end. Append word literally means what? Adding to something. So now here what happens? When I say this is my existing file, I want to write from here. Okay, so I would open the file in append mode. So what is the difference between write and append? See, you all know that whenever we talk of a file, I mean, obviously there's a cursor associated to it, right? There's a cursor. When I open my file in read mode, by default the cursor is at the beginning and the reading starts from the beginning, okay? And as you read, the cursor advances. I completely read this line, now the cursor moves on to the next line. I complete reading this line, my cursor moves on to this line. I just complete reading these two characters, my cursor moves to this. I mean, ahead of two characters. Likewise, write again, the cursor is at the beginning. Okay, and whatever you write, you basically do what? You truncate the entire file and you start writing from the beginning. The cursor is at the beginning and you erase the entire content of the file and you start writing from the beginning. Okay, and the cursor also is at the beginning. Append is meant to write, but the cursor is at the end of the file here. Completed here, now it's at the end of the file. Now if you intend to write something, the writing would begin from the end. Okay, not from the beginning but from the end. Now if I intend to read from a file, I open a file to read, that file should exist, otherwise I'll get which exception? I'll get file not found error exception. So if you're opening a file to read, the file should exist, okay? Otherwise, this exception would be encountered and your program would get terminated. Now, if I open a file to write upon it and the file does not exist, not a problem, the file gets created. Okay? And in append mode also what happens? When you're opening, okay, the file should exist, okay? In append mode also it gets created. Okay, you won't get error. So in these two cases, if the file does not exist, it will get created. Now, suppose I open a file in append mode, the file does not exist. Doesn't matter, the cursor would be at the beginning and you start writing. And as you advance now further, okay, if you intend to write on the same file and you open it in append mode, your cursor is going to be at the end. Okay, it works like that. So we broadly see in a text file, my modes are R, W and A. Let me tell you all, I have R plus, I have W plus, I have A plus. Now, this is just meant for reading, this is just meant for writing, this is meant for appending. Now, this is meant for reading as well as writing, this is again meant for writing as well as reading, and this is meant for append as well as reading. Now, what is the difference then? The first difference is that using R plus, I can do the both. Okay, I can write as well as read. Cursor would remain at the beginning, and if the file does not exist, I get error in this case. In W plus, what happens? Again, the cursor would be at the beginning, and if the file does not exist, it can be created. I mean, it'll be created. And likewise, in A plus also what happens? Cursor is going to be at the end. You can perform reading as well as appending both. If the file does not exist, the file gets created. So this is about our various modes in a text file. Okay, so You understand the modes that we have in a text file. So you understand that line. If I'm writing f equals to open, I need to mention the file name. See, what happens is, as soon as I write this line, okay, and I say I'm opening it in R mode, the operating system gets a message that this file needs to be opened, linked with my program wherever this code is statement is written, and the file mode has to be R. So next, now we come on the task of either reading or writing. Now in this case it is reading. Okay, so before that I'll just take up writing first. Okay, so I just do what, yeah, say my mode is W here. Fine, my mode is W. It means I'm going to open y.txt to write on. Yeah, I'm going to write on y.txt. Now, what are the functions used to write on a text file? So the functions are, the first one is write, the second one is write lines. Okay, now this one is used to write a line. Okay, and this one is used to write collection of lines. Okay, so line or a string or collection of strings. So now say I have opened this, so my next statement can be what? I can simply write f dot write. Okay, so what is going to happen? As soon as I write this line onto my file, hello is going to be written and the cursor moves on to the next line. Okay, so here just a single string, and always remember this has to be there. I mean, your string has to be terminated with a new line character. Okay, and now say I'm going to use write lines. I'll just show you all how to use write lines. I'll again write f equals to open y.txt, and okay, yeah, this, and I do what? I say I take a list, a collection, okay, which has, say, first string is hello, okay, then welcome, okay, Python. Right, now what am I going to do? I'm going to write f dot write lines L. Now what is going to happen in my file? The first line is hello. After that there's this new line, so my cursor moves here. I write welcome. Again new line, so my cursor moves here, Python. So this is how it works. So on y.txt this has been written. So this is how I can perform writing onto my text file. Okay, now we'll see how to read from a text file. So the three functions, okay, I mean now the task that we are going to take up is reading from a text file, right? Okay, the three functions that I used are read, then is read line, and then is read lines. See, what does read do? When you call read function, okay, it returns entire file content as string. Okay, as a string. Read line returns a single line. Okay, as a string. And read lines does what? It returns a list of each line from the file, and each line is terminated with new line. Okay, so if I have 5 lines, say, in my text file, and I call f dot say read lines, okay, so what am I going to get? I'm going to get, if say I take it in x and I print x, what am I going to get? I'm going to get each line. Say this is my first line terminated with new line, then I get what? Second line terminated with new line, then I get third line terminated with, this is how I get my list here. Okay, so these are how. Now see, there are slight variations to these functions again. I just told you all that read function is used to read the entire content of the file. But you know what? I can use read function with n as well. N is a number of characters you want to read. Okay. See, say my file has, I take up the previous file, hello. Okay. And it was welcome. And then it was Python. Now just look at this. Say I write f dot read 2 and I put it into x. Obviously, it's going to read something, it has to go into a variable. What does this n mean? N is number of characters to be read. So initially, my cursor was here. The first character read is H, the second character read is E. Now the cursor is placed here. So if I print X, what am I going to get? I'm going to get HE, right? And now further I do what? I write again f dot say I write read 1 character. So now it's going to advance by 1 character and now would move here. And if I print X, what am I going to get? I'm going to get L. So every time you call a read command, your cursor advances, okay? As many as characters you mention here, your cursor advances. And this is how you can use read with n as well. And n is number of characters. So read can be directly, if I just write what? Say, say for the same file, I'll just take up a new page, right? Yeah. Now for the same, if my file is this, the same file, okay? It was what? It was hello, it was welcome, and it was Python. Now if I write, say, f dot read, simply, I'm not passing any variable to it. So, and if I print x, as it is, the file is going to be printed. So my output is going to be hello, welcome, as it is, it's going to be printed. Okay. If I do what now? Yeah. What I do here is I simply write f x equals to f dot read lines, right? And I print x. What am I going to get? I would just get a list with first element as hello, new line. Second element is welcome, new line. And third element is Python, new line, right? Now, if I repeat the same thing with read line, okay? I just, repeat it with it. I write x equals to f dot read line. So I execute it once. What am I going to get? If I print x, I'm going to get hello. And likewise, if I put it in a loop, or I again, now in continuity to this, if I again write x equals to f dot read line. See, what you need to understand here is, as soon as I've executed this read line, first line is read, so now my cursor moves on to this. So if I again follow with a read line, okay, and if I print x, what am I going to get? I'm going to get welcome. After this, my cursor moves on to this. So if I'm reading line by line, my cursor advances by line. Okay, if I'm doing reading using read lines, it's going this way. If I use read character by character, as many as characters I'd shown you all, it moves character by character. Okay, the cursor advances character by character. Here I want to just tell you all one thing before I conclude text file handling. In the next session I'll be taking questions on text file. I want to tell you all one thing. See, in text file you get 3 types of questions. One is character based question, the other one is line based question, and then is your word based question. Remember, for character based question, you always use read function, because read function can be used to read the entire content from the file and move character by character on it, right? And line based question, if you have a line based question, it's always advised to use read lines. You get the list, traverse the list, and you go line by line on the content or through the content of the file. If it's a word based question, again use read function, and after read function split it. Okay, on splitting you get what? You get list of words, and doing that you can just traverse the list, and traversing the list means traversing each word of the file. So remember, never forget it. Character based question, always use read function. Line based questions, use read lines, and word based questions, use read followed by split. So this is all about text file handling, and in the next session I'll take up questions based 2 questions based on characters, 2 questions based on lines, and 2 questions based on word, so that you know how to take up these functions and write answers in your exams. Okay, so very soon I'll take up your next session. Okay, so now I'll take up questions, okay, on text file handling. So I take character based question first. Okay, say I simply need to count number of characters, okay, in the text file. So what I do is, say my file name is again it's say char.txt. Okay, so I write a complete program now, okay, in which I'm going to count total number of characters. So I just divide my screen, and yeah, f equals to open, right, my file name, and obviously in read mode. Now what next? See, the question is saying I need to count how many characters are there, so I need to read the entire file. So obviously I'll do what? I'll write f dot read. Okay, now I get the entire file content in X as a string. So can I do this? I can write count equals to len x. Okay, and len x gives me what? Count would be len x. Okay, and I would simply write what? Print total number of characters in the file are count. Yeah, so what have I done here? Simply I open the file. Okay, I am reading from the file, I'm getting the entire content, and yeah, and then I find out the length. I'll make it a little bit more clear. So total number of characters are count. Okay, now this is a character based question, and finally, yes, not to forget, f dot close. Now I take up another question wherein I'll just count total number of vowels, okay, in a file. So again, now this time I'll be taking width. Okay, I'll write it this way: width. Okay, open, and I write y.txt, and obviously it's read mode as f. Okay, And now again see, I need to count total number of vowels. Now counting vowels means again it's a character based question. I need to go through the file character by character and check for vowels and just do it, right? So I would do what? I would just write, say, x equals to f dot read. See here, I am taking this indentation because there's a colon here. So I get the entire this thing file content here in x, and then I write what? For ch in x. Now this is the entire content of the file as string, and here I traverse the string character by character. And now what I do, I need to check if it's a vowel. So I'll write what? If, okay, ch in. I take I can take a string, I can take a list, whatever you want, okay? A, E, I, O, U. And likewise, I'll take capital A, capital E, and okay, you'll just take it here. And I can even simply write what? Instead of making this big list here, I can simply write this as well. Sounds more simple. Just wait, yeah. I simply write A, E, I, O, U, A, E, I, O, U. And see, because I need to maintain count, I'll just do one thing. I'll take a counter variable, okay? I'll just take it. I'll take count equals to 0 here. And if ch in this, I'll simply do what? What does this line do? It checks if ch, the character, is, okay, a vowel. Yeah. And simply, yeah, I'll do what? I'll do count plus equals to 1, right? And I would simply write print number of vowels are yeah. So now this question was again a character based question wherein I am opening my file, I'm reading, I'm getting the file content as a string in X, I'm traversing the string. Here I'm checking each character of the string if it's AE in AEIOU string, and if it is so, I increase it by the count by 1 and I get the total number of vowels. Now I next take a word based question, right? Now in a word based question again, say I want to count as simple as total number of words in a file, okay? So yeah, what am I going to do? I'm going to simply, yeah, with, okay, again open y.txt, and again I'm reading only, so it's going to be this as if, okay? Now again I need a counter because I need to count total number of words, right? Now I told you all if it's a word based question, again I'm going to use read. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to write x equals to f dot read. I have the entire file content as a string in X. So now what I do is I write words equals to words equals to, I simply write, just a minute. Okay, so now I take a word based question wherein I would count total number of words in a file, right? And I already told you all, if it's a word based question, we need to again use what? We need to use read function, okay? So I start my program, f equals to open, right? And my file name, okay? And I'm reading, okay? Now I know this much, x equals to f dot read. I'm reading the entire content of the file, and the content of the file as string goes into x, right? Now what am I going to do? I need words, okay, from this file. I need to work upon words. And how do I get words then? I simply use split here. I write what? X dot split. What happens now? X was a string. Now words is what? It's a list of all the words, okay, in the string X. Because split function does what? It splits on, okay, whichever character you give here. Here I have not given any character, so by default it splits on white space. So words is what? It's just a list of all the words in my file, or in the string I should say, or in my file, whichever ways you want to say. See, again I will just add a counter here, count equals to 0. Wait, I'll just make it a little clear. Yeah, what I'll do is, okay, ideally I should put here, there's no space here, so I'm just writing here count equals to 0. Now I need to count total number of words. So what I do is I don't even have to initialize this here, okay, because yeah, what I'll simply do here is I'll write count equals to len words. And what am I going to get in this? I'm going to get total number of words, okay, in the file. So simply I'll do what? I'll print total number of words are, yeah. Now I'll take one more question on words, wherein we'll count all the words starting with, say, A. Okay, I'll take that question. I'm writing a code to count all the words starting with A. So, yeah. Or, okay, let's do this only. So, again, f equals to open y.txt. Okay. Now, yeah, I'll take a count equals to 0 here. I'll need it here, right? Again, not a big deal. F dot read. In X, I get the string, which is entire content. And then I do what? I write words equals to X dot split. You know what I get? I get the list of words in words. And now what I do is, for what my question was, counting total number of words starting with A. Okay, so I'll do what? For word in words. Say this is what? Words is what? It's a list with, this is my first word, my second word, my third word. Say this is ABC, this is DEF, this is GHI. I want to check if the first character of every word is A or not. Okay, so I traverse this list. So on first iteration, I am on this word. Okay, and if I check the 0th index of this, if it is equals to 0, equals to A, so I'll count it. So for word in words, I'll do what? If word 0 is equals to what? Capital A. Okay, I'll do what? I'll write count plus equals to 1. And simply I'll print count. So what? For word in words means this for is going to traverse the entire list of words, and in first iteration I'm on the first word. I check if the first word's 0th index is equals to A, I increment my counter and I get it. If I just modify this question to counting total number of this word, okay, this and that word, which we get in our board exams as well. In this code, I would just count total number of this and that word. So what am I going to do? If word in this, that, okay, and if it's not mentioned of capital, we just take this and that. Okay, yeah. So if word in this and that, I would do what? I would write count plus equals to 1. Now the question would also ask you all to might also ask you to separately count this and that. That also you can do. For word in words, if word equals to this, count plus equals to 1, take one counter for this, take another counter for that, and you can do it separately as well. Here I am giving a total count of this and that. Okay. Now I take up a line based question. Now I'll do what? I'll simply write a program to say count all the lines which end with say I. Okay, so let me start. I write f equals to open y dot txt, and again read mode, right? And now it's a line based question. So what am I going to do? I'm going to write lines equals to f dot read lines. Remember, it's read lines. And now what am I going to do? I would just traverse this. This is what? This is list of each line in the file. So now for line in lines, what is it I need to check? I need to check if the last, okay. See what I have in this now. It's a list. This is line 1. This is line 2. This is line 3. As many as lines it has, okay. Now I need to check last character of each line. If it is I would increment my counter. Say I take a counter here, count equals to 0. If, okay. Now see, last character means index can be -1, because otherwise you cannot know the last index, na? Because if you go by forward indexing, you never know. For that, like, you need to know the length of each word, and then you move to the last index, len -1. So I don't do that. I simply check -1. It's reverse indexing. I use reverse indexing here. -1th index is the last element index. So what I do is, if line -1 is equals to I, I'll do what? Count plus equals to 1. So I print the count of lines is count. So this is how I work with line based question, and we just saw how to work with word based and character based questions. Okay, so just practice the questions, and in comments you can ask me if you have any doubt. I will just take it up in another session of mine. Any doubt, any question that you have, you can just post it on the comments, and I'll definitely take them up. So these are a few questions that we have practiced on text file. I'll take up binary file.